This Bosch Track Saw is seriously impressive, and it could put some fear in Makita and Festool because of a few really unique features. Let's go. In this video, we're gonna put this Bosch Track Saw through the paces. We're gonna see how well it cuts plywood as well as thicker hardwoods. We'll compare it to the top competitors, including Makita and Festool, and I'm gonna show you some features on this track saw that I've not seen on any other one. You might be impressed. I was. First up, we do get a really nice box for it to go in, and on the inside, we do have a nice foam insert so everything has a place and it's well protected. Even if you're not transporting these are perfect for shop storage because you can keep everything in one place. And when you get ready to use it, you don't have to search for 30 minutes looking for this dust adapter hose that you've misplaced somewhere. This is the exact same box that the Bosch 18-volt router came in that we did a review on a while back. It also has a nice foam insert. I think Bosch is doing a really good job here. These boxes remind me a lot of the Festool Sustainers as far as the thickness goes. They are not pack out level. In other words, really robust. If you drop this off the back of a truck, it's probably going to crack. It's a fairly thin plastic, but for overall transport, I think it's fine. All right, inside the box, you do get a charger. You also get a dust hose adapter and a dust bag, which not a lot of track saws are coming with dust bags now. So this might be much appreciated if you're needing a bag. You don't have a dust extractor. You also get one battery and obviously the track saw itself. Very interesting that this ships with the battery already on the tool. I don't know that I've seen that before. I think almost all cordless tools I've bought, as far as my memory serves, has never come with a battery actually on the tool. Very interesting because it does actually have a slot for the battery to ride in. So not sure why this one came with the battery already installed. It's highly unusual. I also picked up the track with this saw, as well as one very cool accessory that I haven't seen on any other track saws, and I think it's gonna be a game changer. Now this track is actually a 63-inch track. Most of your tracks are about a 55-inch tracks. I like this because it does give you plenty of track to get the saw started and to finish that cut. Overall impressions right out of the box, it feels so nice, like a very, very nice saw. The grips on it, everything feels well made, which you would expect from Bosch. They make really good stuff, but it does feel nice. And the plunge action is extremely smooth. Sometimes on other saws, you may even hear the spring kind of compressing and releasing. This one's not. It's very smooth, very silent. I did notice that there was some oil all over the blade. I've never seen that before either. I'm not sure if they're trying to keep the blade from rusting or why that's on there. It's odd. I've never seen that before, but the battery's also never been installed before either, so I guess they're just different. Now this is an 8-amp-hour battery, and it does have that rapid charger with it, so you won't be spending a ton of time waiting on it to charge. Now the way this adjusts to the track is kind of unique. I've not seen this before. Most of them have twist knobs and it's just tension, which this works a similar way, but it's just a different way of doing it. It has these slide switches. And when you first set it on the track, if they're all the way back, you may feel a little bit of slop in there, and you want to get that out. You want to adjust it to the track so that you have zero tolerance issues. So all you do is push this forward by the click. And the more you click it forward, the tighter it gets. Until the slop is gone. But you want to do both the front and the back. And the front one is just a slide switch right under where the battery goes. Easily accessible. Once you dial that in, you're ready to cut. This has one of the easiest arbor locks that I've seen as far as getting to where you can change the blade. Literally just raise up that little cover right there, and then when you press down, it locks it in place. And now I have complete access to my arbor to be able to change the blade, and the tool storage is right here on the other side. And to lock the arbor to keep the blade from spinning, you're just gonna push down on that button that you've uncovered, and it locks it so that you can change your blade. When you're done, flip that down, you're ready to go. Before we put this through the paces and see how it actually performs, I want to go over the features with this thing because it has some very unique things going on that some other track saws don't. And then we'll compare it to those track saws that don't have the same thing going on. All right, this is a variable speed saw, and it's power on with that push button. And then you can cycle through the speeds from 1 all the way through 6, and then it also counts back down, which I do like. And it also has an eco mode. What that's going to do is help save battery life, which is awesome. It also has an overheating indicator that will turn red if the tool gets too hot. I haven't seen that on any other saw. There's also a battery indicator there to let you know how much battery you got left. Overall adjustments on the saw are fantastic. Some of the best I've seen on any saw, especially the bevel function. It is so smooth. It just glides on there very easily. And this also has -1 all the way to 47 degrees on bevel cuts. You just push the little red button to go past 45, and then also push that button again to go past 0. And it does have positive stops at 0 and 45. The plastic knobs and everything are very well made. And a lot of cheaper saws like the Bosch Track Saw, Wind Track Saw, things like that, these knobs are very dinky and just, they feel like cheap stuff. These don't feel that way. Now on the depth adjustment, this thing is awesome. You know I love the one push button depth adjustments like on Milwaukee, Rigid, Festool. This is the same way. Push and adjust. It's absolutely fantastic. And doesn't matter what camp you're in, inches or millimeters, they got you covered, although I think they like inches more because it's closer to the indicator, and I'm okay with that. Now this does come with a proprietary track. This is the only track I've seen like this. However, they did a genius thing. You can literally take this insert right out, just with one screw, and drop it in on any standard track like Milwaukee, Festool, Wind, PowerTech, Makita, you name it. Like you can basically use any standard track, so if you already have tracks or accessories for those tracks, you can use this saw on those tracks, and I'm glad they did that. However, I do really like this track, and there is a very, very unique track accessory that they sell that we'll show later. Now as far as the track goes, on the bottom you'll see these almost felt-like grippers on the bottom that help keep the thing stuck, right? And you also have the splinter guard. On the Bosch Track, very similar, you still get the splinter guard, but their sticky is a little rubber strip that goes in this groove, and it's quite sticky. Not sticky feeling, just sticky to the surface. It's a high quality track, very professional. And as far as their connectors go, the way you connect more than one track go, I think this is far superior to anything I've seen yet. Most of them take 2 bars that slide into the tracks. You have to tighten them down with Allen keys. It works okay, but you got to make sure everything is perfectly straight. Bosch, theirs is super easy. You take those caps off the ends, slide this right in, take a flathead screwdriver and just quarter turn it, and it's snug. And you do the same thing to the accessory or the other track that you're adding on. Perfectly straight every time, perfectly flat. It's very quick, very easy. By far the best method I've seen yet. As stated, you do get a dust bag with your track saw if you so choose to use it, but I'm rocking a dust extractor, so that's what I'm choosing to use. It does come with an adapter, but the Festool hose actually fits right in there perfect. Now one accessory I picked up with this saw was this protractor or angle cutter, or whatever you want to call it. And it's very, very well made. A couple of really cool features it has. First and foremost, at 90 or at 0 degrees, you do get a stop or a hard detent there. Very easy to adjust. Little knob underneath, just loosen a little bit, and then you can move this anywhere you want from 0 to 45 degrees to the right or 0 to 60 degrees to the left. So you get plenty of miter cuts there for whatever you're trying to do. Also, to help keep everything level, this little piece right there actually rides on top. So it basically references the top of your stock that you're using. If you line this up just like that, we should have a perfect 90-degree cut. As far as installing, it's very, very quick. You slide one side in, tighten it down, slide the other side in, tighten that down. You're good to go. They even give you a center line indicator so you know where to stop. Now before we put this through the test and see how it's going to perform and compare it to the top competitors, let's talk about this Bluetooth module that you can put in here and see all the just fantastic things you can do to tweak this to make it just like you want it. So I could not resist. I ordered the Bosch module and it comes with its own battery, which I really appreciate. That way I didn't have to go find this battery. This is awesome. It's very easy to put in. All you do is take off this little cap with a screwdriver, a little flathead screwdriver. At first I was unsure on how to put this on there. I didn't read the instructions, you know me. But all you do is drop this module in, put the battery on top, and then you just put the cap back on it. From there, you put the battery on. The battery has to be on the tool for it to connect. Go figure. You would think it would connect because it already has its own battery, but it won't. Anyway, use the Bosch Toolbox app. I don't know how many people would use this, but let me know in the comments. I think this is very cool because, number one, you can rename the tool. Like, so if you want to name your tool, Outlaws Bosch Track Saw, you can do that. One very cool feature here is you can tweak the RPM settings for each number on the dial. So 1, 2, all the way up through eco mode, you can change all of those settings to be dialed in exactly where you want that. That is absolutely unique and I haven't seen it on any other track saw. So that's pretty cool. One thing that I really like about this though, and I think it's worth the 30 bucks for the module, you can adjust the brightness and the time limit on how long this LED stays on, where you adjust the variable speed, the battery indicator, all that. I actually moved it to 90 seconds. That's way too long. I went inside and grabbed something and I come back out and it was still on. I was like, yeah, So I've dropped it back down to 30 seconds and I think that's perfect. You can reset all these back to factory default as you see on the screen. On the main screen where you see the tool, if you have multiples, they'll all be listed here, and it shows you my battery level. So that's pretty cool. That way you'll know how much battery you got left. You can also check the alerts, the little bell icon in the bottom right, and if there's anything wrong with your tool that this app can pick up, then it'll be shown there. Not only can you adjust the speed settings from 1 all the way through 6 or eco mode, you can also change the number of speed settings there are available from 2 to 6. So if you need one setting that's straight up all the power it's got, and you need one, the minimum power, you can set just 2 of those and rock on. Anytime you change something on there, you'll see this flash blue, and then it'll turn the screen back to that green color. I want all 6 because I like choices. On the bottom of the screen, bottom left, if you click that I, you can also register this tool from the app, get your 3 years of warranty there, and then there's some other information like the serial number, factory number or name, I guess that's model number, and then also manufacturing date, which here is April of 2022. This tool was made in April of 2022. We're in March of 2025. This was made 3 years ago. Kind of interesting. Wonder how many of my other tools were like that. All in all, I think this little module is absolutely worth the upgrade. A lot of people will probably say, well, that little battery won't last long. I have found, like in the other things that I have that type battery in, I got a remote for this camera, like they last for months, almost a year at a time, because you're not actually using that power all the time. You're only going to access that when you open the app. So, well worth the upgrade. Let me know what you think about that. Now, let's put this thing to the test. First power on, let's see what she's got. It's in eco mode. Soft start, I like it. Let's crank that dude up. I do like the soft start. You can also adjust the speed on the fly should you need to. All right, the first cut, we're actually just going to trim or fit this track to the saw, and all you're doing is making a pass on this track, and it's going to cut that splinter guard so that it fits exactly where your blade is. Once that's done, I'm going to cut some plywood. Now the first cut, I actually used the 4 amp hour battery that come with my router, and it felt a little underpowered. And I was a little bit concerned there. I was like, it wasn't bad. It cut everything like it was supposed to, but I just felt like it wasn't giving me enough. And then I dropped that 8 amp hour battery in there and all the issues went away. It was perfectly powerful, did exactly what it should have done. Really fairly good dust collection as far as plywood goes, and a really good clean cut. I do like that. I tried the eco mode. I could feel that it was, when you push it a little harder, it would give it a little more power, so that eco mode is working like it should. One of the things I think sets this apart from a lot of the track saws I've seen is this accessory that you can pick up. I think it's fantastic. If you wanted to cut a 15-degree angle for whatever reason, and you needed to cut it on this piece of sheet good, you literally set this to 15 degrees, and it's exactly 15 degrees. This actually acts as a reference edge or a square. Think of a big speed square, basically is what we're getting here, because when we attach this to the track, we have a very long reference edge along with this edge. I set up this 15-degree angle on the end of this piece of plywood, and I checked it with this Klein digital gauge. You can see it's perfectly 15 degrees. Also 10 degrees, perfectly 10 degrees, and then all the way back to 90, aka 0 degrees, perfectly 90-degree cut there, or 0-degree cut. I like this a lot, and it's very easy to install and remove. Like I stated, it's very well made. Everything glides nice, locks down easy. I think this is going to be a must-have accessory if you pick up this track saw for cutting plywood and things like that. You're going to love having this. Now the rail adapter didn't come with this track, and it didn't come with this piece. I had to pick up that up separately, so you may want to look into that as well if yours doesn't come with it. If you watch this channel, you know I always like to cut this big old, almost 2-inch thick piece of walnut with the track saws to kind of test the power, test that dust collection. Just gives me a real world test on how this is going to perform on thicker materials. Off the track, we got about 2 1/8 to a little over 2 1/8 of depth of cut. On the track, it's right at 1 3/4 inches, and this piece of walnut's like 1 7/8 inches. So I knew that there was going to be an 1/8 or a 1/16 inch that wasn't going to be cut. It wound up being about a 1/16 of an inch at full depth of cut. Now, as far as power goes, 0 issues at all. It cut through it, hot knife through butter, did very well. Now, I wanted to check for this to be square, so I just took a little hand plane, knocked that little ledge off that was left from the uncut part. Check for square, absolutely perfectly square, so accuracy is not an issue here. Dust collection is excellent until the blade exposed to the edge of the wood comes out of basically the pocket cut. I was trying to cut this flush with a previous cut, and so when you see this break through, you'll see dust coming out of there, but any track saw would have that issue, or any saw really, with that blade down there exposed like that. But as far as dust collection goes, I was quite impressed with it. It does really well. And as far as power goes, there's zero issues here. I do wish there was a little bit more depth of cut, at least get us 2 full inches on track. But that is the limitation of this 5.5-inch blade, and that's where you're going to see some differences when we compare these other track saws. Speaking of that, let's do it. Now, if you're looking at this Bosch track saw, it's highly likely that you may be considering others in this price range, and that would include the Milwaukee, the Makita, and the Festool. And I always get, what about Mafell? Well, Mafell is not in this price range because they're at $1,200+ all in. So it's hard to justify that if you're looking at something in this price range. Now, when I did my Makita track saw review, which you should check out after this, it's mind-blowing. I was very impressed with this. I even lost my Festool fanboy card because of this Makita track saw. I think these three are probably on the Mount Rushmore of best track saws under $1,000, and we're going to figure out if this is going to be up there or not. First, if we talk about power, all 4 of these have comparable power, so if you're looking for a track saw, you're worried about the power of that, all 4 of these will do the job. Accuracy, all 4 of these are extremely accurate. You're not going to have any problems with that either. There's a couple of features here on the Bosch that I think kind of set it apart. First, the connectivity, that you can connect it to the app and have all of that data. I think that's pretty cool if you're into that sort of thing. I also really like the eco mode here that kind of juices up the power if you need it. If I'm not mistaken, the Makita cordless router or the Bosch router had that feature where it would use as much power as it needed and then not as much if it didn't need it. Which one was it, Chris? Thank you. I've already lost my Festool fanboy card. So we're in danger in here of losing my Milwaukee fanboy card. But I think the track system that this uses, that this uses is far superior versus the standard track. I do like how pinpoint accurate it is when you drop it on that little bitty lip and you dial it right in. I like that better than the standard, and I love these 3 track saws. These are the top 3. But I do like that. I also like how the arbor works on this one. It is so much easier than the other drop it down and stop it and try to take the blade off. This is so much easier. It's so well thought out. You literally just flip the little switch up, push it down, it locks in place, push that red button, and then you can change your blade. I like it. I like it a lot.
I like it a lot.
I love the push button adjustment on this, but the Festool has it and the Milwaukee has it. The only one that's not like that is the Makita. It's a twist knob and you move it. It works fine, but these are better in my opinion. I also think the depth setting is better on the Milwaukee and the Festool because you get some fine-tuned adjustments there with a little dial that you can just twist and you can micro adjust that. So if you're getting that perfect depth of cut, if you need that for plunge cutting, for whatever you're doing, you can dial that in. Where the Bosch and Makita don't have that. As far as the indicators go, this is one of the things that's kind of a nitpicky thing, but this one is just kind of stamped or molded into the material on the bevel cut. You'll see a little triangle there. It's not as good as the Festool or the Milwaukee in my opinion. They just have better pinpoint accuracy with their indicators. The Makita is also pretty good. It's a little bit more thicker, but you get way more pinpoint accuracy. If you really need to dial in those angles, you're going to get better accuracy or indicators on these other 3 versus this Bosch. Now the Makita and the Milwaukee both feature anti-tip, so if you wanted to use that, if you're doing a lot of bevel cuts, I'd probably go with one of these 2 just because when you tilt this over, it could come disengaged from the track, much like the Festool does. However, Festool is the only one that has anti-kickback. If you're wanting the extreme safety on this thing and you want to make sure that the motor's going to shut off if it does get kicked back, then the Festool is going to be the only way to go. And out of these 4, the only one that has a riving knife, which at one point in my life I thought was very important, is the Milwaukee. Now it can come in handy to keep wood from pinching together, especially for cutting thicker stuff. I don't think it really matters too much on plywood, and I think that's what these are mainly for, plywood, and none of these 3 have a riving knife. Now the Milwaukee and Festool also have an anti-splinter feature that you can drop this little piece right down to the material, and it basically gives us 0 clearance on the front and also underneath because of the track, and I really do like the features of that on these 2 saws. I wish the Makita and Bosch had it, but they don't. Now, as far as the blade that comes with each one of these, Festool, superior blade. Makita, superior blade. Milwaukee, superior blade. Bosch, pretty good blade. It's not as good as these other 3, not as good as I'd like to see it. It's all right. If you're just cutting plywood with it, you're going to be fine. If you're going to be ripping some thicker woods, probably fine. I'd probably get a lower tooth count if you're going thicker woods. If I was doing a lot of plywood, I'd probably pick up a better blade. I think where the Bosch gets separated from the other 3 is the track system. Is this protractor track attachment that you can get. I think that's very cool. Both Festool and Makita do offer this similar style attachments for their tracks to cut those angles. I love how this attaches The other one's attached with the regular rails, as far as I can tell. But this is, I love the way this attaches. It's just so easy. So is this the 4th track saw on the Mount Rushmore with these other 3? You let me know in the comments. Which one of these would you buy? You should probably check out that Makita review right there before you make any decisions, or the Milwaukee review. Click in either box to get you the big old virtual fist bump.